Welcome back to the online sessions on AWP. In today's session, we'll try to cover this antenna array chapter by completing the binomial array. So we have done with various types of array combinations, and the last array which we have in the syllabus is going to be the binomial array. So before we discuss about binomial array, I just wanted to reiterate separately about the broadside array and endfire array. So in the exam is asking about broadside array and endfire array, sometimes for 8 marks, sometimes for total 15 marks. So therefore it is better we write separately notes, separate concepts for the broadside array as well as the endfire array. Even though we discussed, while we're discussing about basic antenna arrays formed by various isotropic point sources, right? So we'll just go with this now. So what is the broadside array? So we know that broadside array is always going to radiate the EM field in a direction which is going to be normal to the axis of the array. So there are two types of broadside arrays, type 1 and type 2. Type 1, the axis of array is going to be horizontal, and the radiation is going to be perpendicular to that. It's going to be something reverse of this. Type 2 broadside array is going to be like this, where the array axis is going to be vertical. Since the array axis is vertical, what is going to be the radiation pattern? The radiation pattern that you can see is going to be like this, which is going to be perpendicular to the axis of the array. So the 0 degrees, 180 degrees is going to be the axis of the array, and the radiation is going to be perpendicular to this particular axis of the array. This is what the radiation pattern of a broadside array. The radiation in the broadside array is always going to be perpendicular or normal to the axis of the array. That is what called a broadside array basically. So that's why we write a point here. Radiation is always normal to the axis of the array in the case of the broadside array. Now, what are the points that has to be satisfied whenever we want to do radiation like this? Whenever you expect radiation to be like this, which is going to be normal to the axis of the array, so compulsorily it has to follow three basic conditions. The first condition is that the spacing between the arrays, if you see this carefully, the spacing between the arrays is going to be same, that is lambda by 2, lambda by 2, lambda by 2. It all depends on our practical application. If you take lambda by 2 as a spacing between two antennas, all rest of the other antennas spacing also should be of same value. So if we consider say lambda, the spacing is going to be lambda, lambda, lambda here between the two antennas. That means we always going to take multiples of this lambda by 2 usually. So therefore lambda, 2 lambda, 3 lambda like that. So based on the requirement, we normally going to take a uniform spacing between the two antennas in the antenna array. So therefore the distance or a spacing between two antennas in the antenna array is always going to be same. Okay, if you take with lambda by 2, it has to be fixed as lambda by 2 for all the spacing between the antennas in the array. The next one is the power applied to all these elements. Now each antenna in this array is called as a antenna element or called as an element. So the element, the power applied to all these elements, say P1, P2, P3, P4, the power applied to all these elements should be compulsorily same in the case of the broadside array type of the antenna, with no phase difference. That is phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, phi 4. If you take as the phases should be of same phase. So the power you apply, the input power you apply to all these antennas should be same, and the phase at which you normally going to apply these powers is also going to be same in the case of the broadside array, along with the spacing between the antennas going to be same. Right. So here we proceed with the time delayed version of the signal. So imagine E1 and E2 are the two electric field equations from 2 point sources. Say imagine this is 1 and 2 point sources, and E2 is going to lead E1. So if E2 is going to lead E1, the components we write here as something like E1 is E1 e to the power plus j xi by 2 is one component we'll write. E to the power minus j xi by 2 is going to be another component, because they are been lagging. They are been lagging with a time delay. So therefore that we normally incorporate in this particular thing. If it is going to be opposite in phase, the amplitude is going to be simply minus amplitude. So therefore the electric field, what we can write from the previous knowledge as E is equal to, we can write 2 into E naught cos xi by 2. Okay, so this is the governing equation. You have to start with this particular equation. If you don't remember this equation, you really cannot do anything in this particular antenna arrays. So the effective electric field at a far point has to be compulsorily known to us. If it is known to us, then we can proceed comfortably. Okay. So the equation which is known as electric field equation at a far field region is very important to remember. One has to remember this equation. We can start from this equation also. After writing even in E2, you can start from here also in the examination, no problem. You need not go and derive all these things. If you could able to remember, you can start from this. The next is the total phase angle is going to be xi. Xi is equal to beta d dash plus alpha, you can write. So therefore this xi is equal to this d dash is nothing but equal to what? Beta d cos phi. This, that means the signal component of this field 2 can be written in terms of other field, which we can write as equal to the total phase. The total phase angle is going to be beta d cos phi plus alpha. Now usually we take alpha is equal to 0, beta is nothing but equal to 2 pi by lambda, and d we have taken as equal to lambda by 2. Okay, so we simply substitute all these parameters in this particular equation. So once if you substitute all this in this equation, what I'll be having now, I'll be getting this equation. E is equal to En cos of pi by 2 of cos phi. Already we have solved this. Now similar to the previous procedure, while we find out the maximas and minimas. So similar to the previous procedure, you have to find out maximas and minimas. So here maxima happens at, we got in the previous sessions that maxima got happened at phi is equal to 90 degrees and 270 degrees, and the minimas happened at 0 degrees and 180 degrees. Okay, so that means if the axis of the antenna is simply horizontal, then we got this radiation. Okay, so for this particular broadside type of the array, while the axis of the array is along the horizontal plane, the radiation we have got like this. Okay, so and we have found out the half power beamwidth values also. Okay, so let us move on to the next one, that is going to be, if at all in the exam, end fire array. Okay, draw the radiation pattern and explain the end fire array. Then you have to simply go with the end fire array. So what is an end fire array? It is going to be an extension of broadside array type of the antennas in terms of the phase complexities. So here we have to extend the broadside array in terms of the phase complexity. So it is going to implement the uniform progressive phase shift between the elements. The phase shift that we apply between the elements of the antenna is going to be uniform phase shift. Okay, that means uniformly it should be increasing. So since the maximum radiation is always along the main axis of the antenna, it will have a maxima at definitely 0 and 180 degrees. Well, depending on the distance between the elements, we give the phase shift between the elements of the antenna. So it is all depending on the distance between the antennas, we apply the phase shift between the antennas. If the distance between the antennas is going to be lambda by 2, the phase shift between the antennas we apply as 180 degrees. If the distance is going to be lambda, we apply phase shift is equal to 360 degrees. So like this, we normally going to apply the phase shift between the two antennas. Okay. So for this, we go with something like writing as d is equal to lambda by 2. If d is equal to lambda by 2, lambda is, imagine if it is going to be 6 meters, then we are going to have d is equal to 3 meters distance. So where progressively it is increasing, that means first antenna is 0 degrees phase shift, second antenna is coming with 180 degrees phase shift, to the third antenna it is coming with 180 plus 180, 360 degrees. Then next antenna is going to come with 360 plus 180 degrees. So like that, progressively the same amount of phase is going to get increased for each and every antennas we normally going to apply. So since the phase difference is 180 degrees, what we are writing here as E2 is equal to minus E0 into e power minus j xi by 2. Definitely even in E2 are normally going to have some time delayed signal. Therefore we write here as e power minus j xi by 2, e power plus xi by 2. Rest of the things are going to be absolutely same. No change here in the equations. So E is equal to 2 into E0. Yeah, here we normally going to get, when you solve this, as a sine component. For a broadside array, we get a cos component. Here we get in terms of the sine component. So sine xi by 2, this also to remember to complete the expression. For maximas, already we perform this activity. So for maximas, we equate this sine pi by 2 of cos phi equal to 1. So when we made this equal to 1, then we can just simply get the values as maximum values for the phi equal to 0 and 180 degrees. Okay, because it is along the axis of the antenna array. Then for minimas, we will be getting the minima values at phi is equal to 90 and 270 degrees. And half power beam width is going to be something like this particular product equation is equated to 1 by root 2. Thereby we get 60 and 120 degrees. So the radiation pattern is going to be, if this is the axis of the antenna array, the radiation pattern is simply along the axis of the antenna array. Okay. So like that we normally going to write 60 and 120 degrees. So in between you normally going to have the half power beam width. So this is what it throws the energy in the almost all the directions with high directivity. So because it is along the antenna's direction, antenna array axis, so the directivity is really going to be very good in the case of the end fire type of the antenna arrays. Okay. Now there is one more question that is asking in the exam for 2 marks. Why the spacing between the antenna elements should be something like d less than lambda? So if you give a antenna, if you give a spacing between the two antennas is going to be more than lambda, the radiation that we normally going to get these grating loops. These loops are known as grating loops, which are unwanted loops. So to avoid these grating loops, the distance between the two antennas should be compulsory less than lambda. So this is what very common question that we will be having here. Then why we have to go with the reasons of going for antenna arrays? Why we have to apply or why we have to use the antenna arrays when we have a single antenna? So one solution definitely is that without using antenna arrays means you can just increase the size of the antenna by increasing the dimensions of the antenna. So if you go on increase the dimensions of the antenna, what are the problems we are going to get? AE increases, effective area of the antenna is going to increase. As AE increases, what happens? The gain is also going to increase, but we cannot increase the AE beyond the device limitations. As the device, as you increase beyond, losses are also going to increase inside the antenna. So because of these losses, once again, the signal cannot be radiated to a longer distance. Therefore, we have to use, the only option we're going to have is to have an array of antennas without compromising on directivity of the antenna. We simply increase the antenna size without increasing AE. We simply going to have an antenna array and we increase the directivity of the antenna. And the last antenna is going to be binomial array type of the antenna. So in this binomial array type of antenna, once again you should understand about how the binomial array has to be arranged. So the binomial array has to be arranged in a non-uniform manner. That means the spacing between the elements of the antenna array are going to be non-uniform. Earlier in the case of broadside array, end fire array, we have seen the spacing is going to be uniform. Whereas here it is going to be non-uniform. That is the main difference between the end fire broadside array and the binomial type of the array. So because of that reason, what happens? The radiation pattern has no minor lobes. Because of this, minor lobes are simply going to get vanished in the case of the binomial type of the array. So therefore here, so you have to explain the problems and necessity of the binomial array with respect to the broadside array by yourself. Okay, so I am not discussing on this because anyway broadside array has got the problem of, because of the uniformity. So the radiation pattern directivity is not going to be really high and the signal radiation is not going to be with high directivity. So to improve on these things, we normally go with a binomial array. So let us see the binomial array now. See here, this is array 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the 4 arrays we have, 4 array elements we have. So each separated by lambda by 2, lambda by 2, lambda by 2 distance. So in the normal conditions, what is the kind of array pattern you're going to see? So this is what array pattern multiplication. Using pattern multiplication we can just going to have. So that means here this from these two antennas we can form one x1 group, x2 group. Now that means this is the group antenna separated by lambda distance. Radiation pattern is going to have 4 radiation patterns multiplied with a single radiation pattern of the single antenna, and we normally going to get this kind of a radiation pattern with many minor lobes. This is what the thing which we are going to have. These minor lobes are unwanted, so we have to simply avoid the minor lobes. To simply avoid minor lobes, what we do now, we simply avoid the spacing here. See, between 2 and 3 there is no spacing. Just below the 2 I'm going to have 3 without any spacing. So here we normally going to achieve that particular minor lobe elimination. So here now these two antennas, see 1 2 is separated by lambda by 2, 2 3 is 0 spacing, and next is 2 4 or 3 4 is separated by only lambda by 2. If you take the middle distance between these two, once again you normally going to get lambda by 2 distance. So therefore, once again same format we normally go with here. Now in the case of this binomial array, the equation for electric field becomes cos square pi by 2 cos phi, because we are simply considering two antennas at the same place. So therefore it becomes a square here. And by using array pattern, simple array pattern, now after grouping also, the spacing between the two antenna groups are going to be lambda by 2. Therefore the pattern is going to be same. When you simply multiply these two patterns, you normally going to get a very bigger pattern with more directivity. That is the advantage which we are going to get. So here if you see in terms of the currents which are flowing inside the antennas, the current flowing in first antenna is going to be 1. The current flowing through antenna 2 and 3 is going to be 2i. The current flowing through antenna last antenna is going to be I. That means the antennas flowing through antenna element 2 and 3 are added up. It becomes 2 now. So therefore, it has simply come up like 1 2 1. That means it is arranged like a binomial array kind of a fashion. So if you simply write the binomial array fashion, we normally going to have I, 3i, 2i, I. And if you expand it like for n number of arrays, if you go with four four arrays, if you go with 4 arrays, then the equation is going to be cos cube pi by 2 of cos phi. If you go for n number, it's going to be cos of n minus 1 of pi by 2 of cos phi. This is what the basic relationship we get for the electric field, which is normally going to have. Now here for binomial array, the currents which are going to exist inside the array elements are going to follow a Pascal's triangle. This is what important. So Pascal's triangle means what? Simply see this side, if you see 1 1 1 1, all 1 1 1 1s, so it's going to be 1 2 3 4. Similarly you're going to have 1 2 3 4, like this you normally going to have. So here if you see, how do you form this Pascal's triangle? If you see the two elements here, at the middle of these two elements there is one element. At the middle of these two elements there is one element. At the middle of these two elements there is one element. At the middle of say 1 and 6, so at the middle of 4 and 6 you're going to have 3. At the middle of 1 and 4 you're going to have 1. At the middle of 6 and 4 you're going to have 3. So the Pascal's triangle is normally going to get formed or arranged in this particular fashion. So the binomial array current distributions are simply arranged like this by virtue of the binomial distribution. Okay, so with this we normally going to have the array pattern arranged something like this. So because of this, the overall length of the binomial array is normally becomes equal to n minus 1 times lambda by 2. And L becomes, say, if you take n is equal to 5 elements, then you normally going to have 4 lambda by 2 as the as the number of elements of the array. And what is going to be the combination of the array? Binomial combination 1 4 6 4 1 you get, similar to the Pascal triangle what we have computed just now. In the Pascal triangle, 5 elements means 1 2 3 4 5 should come. So 1 4 6 4 1. This is what the combination we get for the current distributions. And similarly we have directly, I have put directly the formulas, that is half power beam width is equal to 1.06 under root of n minus 1. So n is taken as equal to 5 and n minus 1 you can just compute as, from this n is taken as 5 here. So I can just compute this as 2L by lambda. Then half power beam width formula for this is 0.75 under root of L by lambda. Directivity is going to be 1.77 root n. Directivity formula is there directly 1.77 into 2L by lambda plus 1. So you should remember these formulas if at all problems are given on this. If problems are not given, you can just end up with the length of the binomial array is going to be n minus 1 into lambda by 2. So this is what the binomial array, which is going to be the last array pattern we have in the syllabus. Okay. So with this, we have completed the 4th unit called binomial array. So in the previous sessions, I have done with the 5th unit, that is called wave propagations. Okay. So almost all we have done with the complete syllabus of AWP. So when we come back to the offline sessions, we'll go with some of the university questions problems in the class. Thank you very much for the today's session.